It's Friday, March the 21st, and I continue to read and wonder my way through Matthew's Gospel. And today we're in Matthew chapter 5, verses 13 to 16, which will be a relief for many because for the last 4 days I've been reading Matthew 5, verses 1 to 12, over and over and over and over again. It's the Beatitudes, the Sermon on the Mount. And each day I've been looking at a couple of those verses. So I've wondered about, blessed are the poor in spirit, and what that means. And blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. Blessed are the merciful, the pure in heart. Blessed are those who are persecuted. Each of those I've spent time wondering on all week. But now we're going to move on in the text. So it's still Jesus speaking. And well, let's see what he has to say. So it's Matthew chapter 5, verses 13 to 16. You are the salt of the earth. But if salt has lost its taste, how can its saltiness be restored? It's no longer good for anything, but is thrown out and trampled underfoot. You are the light of the world. A city built on a hill cannot be hid. People do not light a lamp and put it under the bushel basket. Rather, they put it on the lampstand, and it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven. There we go. Now, first thing that pops into my head um, is my sense that these words don't particularly belong with the words I've been reading all week. The Beatitudes, blessed are the poor, blessed are the persecuted, blessed are blah, blah, all that blessed. Then these words come. You read it in Matthew's gospel, and it's all the same events. Like Jesus, has gone up the mountainside. He sat down with his disciples, a much smaller group, and he's been teaching them, and that's what we've been hearing for the last few days. And this looks like this is more of the teaching. And I'm not saying that's not possible. I'm talking about what it feels like to me. We do know that at the time of Matthew's gospel, in fact, the earliest gospels collections were more like sayings gospels, right? So not so much a narrative, a story of Jesus' ministry or birth to crucifixion and resurrection, but just a collection of sayings, of teachings. We know those existed. To me, this is part of that. This is a nod to the sayings gospels, or this is a collection of sayings, of teachings of Jesus, and we've put them conveniently together. Poetic reasons, convenience, we've just put these special, important teachings together in the same moment that we might remember them. That's how it feels to me, because what I've just read to me feels like two very separate teachings, and both worthy of contemplation on their own. You know, the Japanese Zen meditation on a cone. Um, it's a thing that seems impossible, but the more you think about it, the more it opens your mind to. The famous cone is: can you imagine the sound of one hand clapping? And you can spend a lot of time thinking about that. You can go, yeah, whatever, dismiss it. Well, I think these sayings are much like that. That we're meant to think about them and reflect on them. And some may just dismiss, but if you dismiss one, maybe you pick up on the other one. In fact, these are the very things that invite us to do what I do with my Bible study, with my meditation, and everything we do here is to stop and wonder, what could this possibly mean? So the first one we get is you are the salt of the earth, but if salt has lost its taste, how can its saltiness be restored? It's no longer good for anything, but it's thrown out and trampled underfoot. I confess that this is hard for me to wonder about as if for the very first time. I have preached it often. I have meditated on this many, many times. This has occupied a lot of space, excuse me, in my mind and in my heart. And so I don't want to regurgitate a sermon, and I don't want to jump to the conclusion, but I'm going to jump to the conclusion that always comes to me in this. Others may disagree. And there's other things to be found in this passage, but this always comes to me so clearly. You are the salt of the earth, but if salt has lost its taste, how can its saltiness be restored? Well, the simple truth is, yes, there's a, but yes, there's always an exception, and there's somebody who can be even more pedantic than I and say, oh yeah, you're wrong on this one point. The thing is, though, that salt doesn't lose its taste. Salt tastes like salt. Salt that was mined today, salt that was mined 600 years ago and has been sitting in a jar, sitting open for 600 years, is still salty. It never loses its taste. It is always salt. And salt is of great value, particularly at that time. And we can do the whole thing about are you worth your salt and how soldiers were paid in salt and do the yeah, there's lots of stuff to do around salt. But for me in 2025, what I remember is salt is valuable. Salt cannot lose its taste. All right. You wonder if you irradiated it. Yeah, okay. I'm sure there's a way. Um, but in terms of regular human experience, salt does not lose its taste, nor does it really fade. It's salt. So when it says it's no longer good for anything, but it's thrown out and trampled underfoot, it's like, well, wait a minute. That's not true. Well, I guess it would be, but it never, but salt never loses its saltiness. So it's always salt. So this doesn't happen. Now, as I'm thinking about my one hand clapping, I now begin to think about this and go, okay, so wait a minute. What's Jesus saying to me? I am the salt of the earth. But if I lose my flavor, if I lose my value, then I will be simply trampled underfoot, forgotten. So, um, is there any way for salt to become more salty? No, salt is salt. It's what it is. You can add more salt to something, but you can't make that same grain of salt be more salty. It is what it is. I am what I am. I am of value. Salt is valuable, so am I. And I sometimes believe that I can be devalued, that I can become unsalty, that I can become unvaluable, and I can deserve to be trampled underfoot. I can deserve to be discarded. There are days that I can feel like that. I felt those days a lot more when I was, say, a teenager than I do as an adult. I felt those days when I was a young parent quite often. Ah, failed again. I'm a horrible parent. Oh my God, I'm useless. The kids would be better off without me. That kind of feeling. I don't feel that now. By the way, I'm an excellent grandparent. Um, so, so the message, though, to me is that even though you feel this way, it's not true. This little teaching of Jesus invites me to push back and to go, wait a minute, salt doesn't lose its flavor. And Jesus nods, go, oh, exactly. So if I tell you you're the salt of the earth, what do you think that means? I don't lose my value. I'm always valuable. I'm always lovable. I'm always worthy of love. I am worthy of space. I am worthy of attention. I don't have to have all of it, but I am worthy of some of it. Salt, in a weird way, does seem invisible, and yet salt has impact on everything. So do I, even when I don't think that I do. Even when I don't think I'm being all that salty, I am still salty. I will tell you from a preacher's point of view, um, and I assuming you're not a preacher, if you are a preacher, you get what I'm saying. But even if you're not a preacher, you'll understand what I'm saying. You know, there are times that I can preach and I can finish the sermon and the service is over and I'm sort of at the church is, and I'll be sitting in my office going like, oh man, that was a dog. That was terrible. I don't know what I did. What was I thinking? That was a horrible sermon. Oh man, I thought it was going to be great, but it came out of my mouth. It was flat. It was not good. There was nothing of value in it, and I'll beat myself up for that. I go, man, you're a crappy preacher. I no longer think, well, I should quit, but I now think I gotta have to try a lot harder next week because that was really just, man, I've let him down. I feel guilty about that. And then I'll get an email, I'll get a phone call, I'll get a message, I'll get a handwritten card. It was a church on Sunday, Norm, and it felt like you were talking directly to me. Thank God for your message because it's the very thing I needed to hear, and it's changed the way that I do this. It has impacted my life, and that happens. And weirdly, it happens more often with the stuff that I didn't think was very good. My takeaway from this is I'm not very good at judging myself. So maybe I should stop it. Maybe I should let God judge me. God who recognizes me as salt, something of value, and a value that can't be lost. Maybe that's what I need to do. And embracing that, maybe then I can start to look at people as salt as well and not dismiss them or imagine that they're of no value, because the truth is we are all always of value. We are never meant to be trampled underfoot. We're never meant to be thrown out. There's no such thing as us being no longer good for anything. We're always good for something. That's where I go with that. Now, that's tried and true from several sermons, but also from a lot of personal reflection. You're getting to know more about me than you need to know. Welcome to Norm's therapy group. But that's how that one hits me. Then we go to the second teaching, which I don't think belongs with it. I think it's been sewn, it's quilted in. It's another patch. You are the light of the world. Got it. I'm the light of the world. Bright. I bring light to darkness. I bring hope to despair. That's me. I am the light of the world. A city built on a hill cannot be hid, right? So when you're out there, you are out there. Um, and you don't take a lamp and stick it under a bushel. You don't do that because it's a lamp. It's meant to shine. So I'm getting all this and I'm taking it very personally. This is about me, for me. I am meant to shine. Maybe it's about me. Maybe it's about my community. My community. We're the city built on a hill. We're meant to shine. Right. We're a faith community. We're meant to be a faith community that people should know we're a faith community. Gives light all over the house in that same way. Let your light shine before others so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven. 2025, people like me in churches like mine struggle a little bit with what we call evangelism, which is really more about a term used for a kind of um, charismatic, uh, invitational, disciple making Christian movement. It's largely Protestant, although there's certainly evangelical Catholics. Evangelism is not a bad thing. Evangelicals are not bad people, but it is not sort of our way. A lot of people like me judge those folks and think of them as being shallow or brash, or they're just trying to get bums in seats to pay their bills. I mean, it's those churches that charge you for prayers. And I do know churches that do that very thing. They'll pray for you when you make a donation. They're the ones you see on TV. Now, that's not all evangelicals and not all churches like that charge for prayers. I just happen to know one that does. I know of others, but I know one directly that does. Um, and so it's like, man, I don't want that. I don't want all that, so they may see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven. That sounds like one of those TV preachers, and I don't, that's not me, that's not us. And so we back away from that. Now, the criticism would be for our churches, and therefore some of us as individuals, that we then take our light and we put it under a bushel. Because they would say the light's not yours. The light is the light of Christ, and it's God's light, and you are meant to share it. You're meant to stand up there on the hill, and wave it around like you're a lighthouse. You're meant to point it into dark places. You're meant to go around with that light and bring light into the darkness, and let people know that that is God's light, and draw them to the light like moths to a flame. Draw them to that God. And we find that difficult. But there's something to it. Because I also find that very often churches that I know, well, this is my feeling of them. We don't want to talk about Jesus too much. Very divisive. It's one thing to work with the words of the Lord's Prayer and try to make them more inclusive. That's an important thing to do. It's another thing to work with text to make sure that it's open and inclusive and all of those things. But when we get to the point where we're saying maybe we don't want to talk about Jesus because that's off-putting for some folks, is it? I will tell you that in my congregation, in my church, we talk about Jesus. Now, we also acknowledge, encourage, and celebrate the fact that we talk about Jesus differently. Each of us does. that we as a community, we include people who believe that Jesus was a really great teacher. Give us a collection of his sayings, and that can change our lives. There are those in our community who believe that the resurrection of Jesus is what's the most important thing, but it was a community resurrection. The fact that the people loved Jesus so much, it was as if he had come back to life. And that works for them. And then there are others who say, no, 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 that body came out of the tomb walking and talking. And if that's not true, then none of this works for me. So they have to have the physical resurrection. There are others who say, no, no, I stop at Good Friday. That's all I need. Jesus dying there on the cross, that's everything I need. And these four groups, they don't agree at all, but they love being together. They love learning from each other, and we all, I say it on Easter very, very often. Usually on Easter Sunday, I will say something to the effect of, we don't all talk the same way about Jesus. We're not all convinced that the events happen the way, we're not convinced, we don't all see the events happening in the same way, but we all agree that something happened. We all agree that there's a reason that we're drawn here. We just have different understandings of it, right? Um, but then that'll go to the next step where it's, yeah, let's say we don't want to talk about Jesus. That's a little far for me. I can remember having the debate discussion, in the church, and maybe we should take the cross down because the cross is a really ugly symbol. It's very violent, and maybe we don't need that. It's like, man, if we don't have a cross, then what have we got? I mean, I don't want to chuck the cross in the garage sale. Thank you very much. I would rather inform people and invite people to come up with their own theology of the cross, their own understanding of the cross and what the cross means. I don't want to take a cross away from. I have friends who have suffered beyond my comprehension of suffering, and when they see that cross, they're reminded that God has suffered too, that Jesus knows what it's like to be them, and that gives them hope, way more hope than any clever words that could come out of my mouth or any clever teachings that they find in the Bible. They need that example that works for them. Others find, oh, I find that we need to be together as a community and keep informing and keep talking and keep opening up about these things. So when I hear about that we are a light and we're not supposed to hide our light under a bushel basket, my challenge is to understand exactly what that light is. Others are supposed to see my light and in that give glory to your Father in heaven, it says. So that sounds more like that evangelical message. Get them on the team, give them a jersey, sign them up, get their donation. But I see it more as sharing that actual light of Christ, sharing that love, sharing that compassion, sharing that invitation into wonder. That's the light that we have. And we do that as a community. I also do that as an individual. There's an invitation here to recognize that not only am I salt, but I'm light. So light. Oh, look, I combined the two teachings. Um, but I've combined them. I don't know that Matthew meant to. But the fact is, I have something to offer. And it is, I was going to say a shame. I don't know if it's shameful, but it would be wrong. It would be wrong to turn on my office light and close the door and have nobody in the room. You're wasting the light. No one can see it. It's not doing anything. Right? You don't want to waste the light, so you open it up. Well, you have a story to tell. You have love to share. You have insight. You have wisdom. You have capacity for all sorts of things. And just keeping it to yourself, well, whether you suffer from that or not, I don't know, but the world does because they don't get access to your gifts, to your wisdom, to your support, to your help. So for me, this is an invitation to live out there as you can. And some of us are very extroverted. We're out there doing the thing, and others of us like, no, I can't quite, man. That's fine. What I get out of this though is that you shine your light as you can. You don't put it under a bushel. Whether we're talking about a city on the hill that everyone can see far and wide, or a light in a room that only matters to a couple of people, to me, this teaching is about not keeping it to yourself. We're meant to live in the world, and we're meant to have an impact on others, whether they're on our faith team or not. We're meant to bring light. And in that, indeed, that may bring glory to my Father in heaven. Um, anyway, that's where my mind goes with this right now. I'm going to leave that with you because I think there's a lot in there for us. And you've got a whole weekend to think about it. So let me offer prayer and we'll carry on. So let us pray. Loving God, thank you for the teachings of Jesus and the opportunity to wonder what they might mean. As we wonder alone or with others, keep us open to what you're saying in this moment, here and now. Thank you for a safe place where we can wonder and not be afraid to ask questions. God, as we hear your word, may we be drawn to your word and may we grow in faith. We pray in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, through the Holy Spirit. Amen. So that is enough for me today, but I look forward to seeing you. I guess it'll be on Monday. Until I see you, God bless you. Have a terrific weekend. And yeah, until I see you, God bless. Please know that God sees you, knows you, loves you exactly as you are. God knows what kind of light you are. God knows that you're salt. But know that God doesn't just know you, God knows others. And sometimes the way that God knows or loves others is through you. God's love moves through you in amazing ways. So wherever you go, you carry that love. You make a difference. That's what it is to be blessed. It also means that you're a blessing. So thank you for being exactly who you are. God bless you. See you Monday.